I'm out here on the desert. It's winter time out here. Really not much in the way of snow out here. I got my hammock set up and I got my fire going. Gonna have me a little something to eat, something kind of simple, but usually, especially in the colder weather here, the main purpose of your fire is you want to get warm from it. If I have a fire pit and the fire is down in the fire pit, all that radiant heat from the fire is blocked. Now I take off the side of it like I've done here, and I got warmth from the fire all the way from my feet up to my head. That low part of the fire is radiating underneath my chair. So instead of having a cold rear end, I'm actually feeling warmth from the fire. Just showing some stuff I'm messing around with. I got up 3 or 4 times during the night and did some changing around, trying some different things. I'm always experimenting, and to me that's part of the fun of being out. So let me show you a couple things that I came up with. One, you might have seen this before. This is a little shorty half blanket, and I just laid this on top of me as a top quilt. I just laid one of our regular PSBL blankets in the bottom here. I wanted to make sure, I changed up a couple times during the night, but I want to make sure nothing underneath me was influencing how warm I was, because I wanted to see what I needed just on top. You want to find out what works best for you. Now something else, the last part of the night I snapped my Osney underneath to make an underquilt, and during the first part of the night I wore it over on top of me. So I just experimenting around. Now one thing about an Osney or an underquilt is because it snaps, so here's my poncho set up as a hammock. Here, right here is the Osney. In between there, I shoved a jacket that I had in my truck. I laid that down in there to add an extra layer of insulation underneath there. I'm always just trying something, and so I don't usually show this kind of stuff, but I'm just showing a little bit of some of what I've experimented with this time. Got some fun adventures planned out on the desert today. Of course, I'm sleeping here in the desert. I love it out here, and I'm going to go get me some breakfast, and then we're going to get out on the desert. The eggs are frozen, milk was frozen, so I've had to thaw everything out to get my breakfast on here. Well, let's see how side number 2 is. Oh, there we go. Well, I'm heading farther out on the desert. There's a peak out there that a rancher friend of mine, they went up on the day after Christmas and hiked it, and so I thought, well, maybe I'll go do the same thing. I wasn't able to go on that day. I needed to work. So we're heading out through this. Beautiful country out through here. I had never been out here before, and it was a little rougher getting here on the road than I thought. They said, well, you don't need a Jeep, a 4-wheel drive, but the road's a little rough in places, and they were right. So here I am, No Man's Mountain trailhead. So I'm headed up on top. A friend of mine who's a rancher that's ranched cattle out here for his whole life. He knows all this area out here like the back of his hand. He told me I ought to come up here on this hike. So, well, just because I'm out on the desert doesn't mean there isn't snow. And there's not a lot of it, but see these patches of snow, you know we're on the desert. It's still winter here. Well, way back on the flat out there's where I came from. And coming up the mountain here, this is the remains of an old cat track or an old mining road made by a bulldozer. And as you can see, in the years a lot of it is kind of tumbled over, so we go around it. Well, this is the country I'm hiking around in. It's just endless beauty. I mean, it's desolate, but at the same time, it's just beautiful country. Rugged, bouldery climb up this thing, but I am finally getting a little closer to the top. Man, as far as you can see, red rocks. Now we're getting into where there's some sunlight again. There we go. All right. Here we are. Top of this big rock here. Well, there's the big country right there. Pretty nice. I tell you, you just can't ever get over how cool this country is out here. It's so big. I mean, I was clear down in the bottom down there. I've come up on top of this table up here, and man, just looking down and looking out through this, it just blows my mind. It's amazing. Just amazing how big everything is, how much you can see, as far as you can see out through here. It's just stunning. I can't get enough of being out here, I'm telling you what. I just can't get enough of it. Well, it's some rugged landscape up on top of here, up on this mesa, this table. But you know, we find a lot of plants growing up here. A lot of them are kind of stunted. Some of these pinyon pines back here are kind of shorter even than normal. And a lot of this stuff is kind of packed down a little bit. You can tell in certain areas, probably because of prevailing winds and stuff. But we do have quite a bit of yucca growing up here. Most of them are small, kind of like this one here. But it's just beautiful up here. I think I'd like to come back up on top of this mesa here and camp. I think it'd be awfully fun. But you see all dead plants and stuff. I mean, some of the stuff just can't make it. This is a harsh, terrible climate up here. But at the same time, it's beautiful, and the stuff that does survive just stands out, and it's amazing. Oh man, this is comfortable. Up on top here, I'm going to have to put my little fleece pullover on. It's kind of breezy and the wind's a little cool. But with this dark rock right here and that western sun shining right over here, this is really nice and warm. And comfortable, actually, even though I'm laying on rocks. Imagine that. Oftentimes up in these areas you see a lot of this stick debris underneath rocks like this. And that's small game and rodents and stuff like that. Drag all that up into there to kind of secure themselves a little home out of the elements and probably away from predators and such. Now you see all these little basin-like depressions eroded in the rock. All these things is places where you might watch in the summertime after a rainstorm to come and get a drink of water. It's still too cold for much of the snow to have melted. A little tiny bit of snow melt water here. Do a little bit of firewood preparation here. Prepping firewood. How I do it. I just take some of this and I dump it in here. And I've got a little sliver of fat wood here. That would have helped had I not put it out in there. Okay. So just let that sit there like that. And I won't even use the whole piece. There it is. Right here. Product of Canada. I don't do product of China. I like to keep some of these in my pack all the time, and oftentimes I'll eat them just raw, you know. But okay, so the fire's going, so I can let that cool down, and that'll be good for at least one more fire. I can take my cooking stick here, put that on there, and then put my fish up on there. I should really wait for it to burn down a little bit. Beautiful scenery back there, right? I'm on the edge of a cliff right here that drops way down. Yeah, look, we're about boiling right now. Some water there. And I'm cheap. I either carry my clean canteen or these Powerade bottles, my water bottles. Well, I think we're warmed all the way through. I can take that off of there. There we go. I'll have a little bit of fish snack. Some nice cold water. You know, it's only about 38 degrees up here. But being out on the desert, high altitude and full sun, and right now there's hardly any breeze whatsoever. So it's actually pretty comfortable now. But I really like this little canned fish like this. Makes a good trail snack, whether you eat it right out of the can raw. Well, I mean, it's already cooked, but whether you eat it right out of the can or you warm it up like this over the fire, either way is good. You can put a cup of cooked rice with one of these, and that makes you a pretty good meal right there. Here I am, there's my scenery. This is the world I'm living in right here. And down we go, back down the trail. Hard thing hiking this trail is keeping your eyes on the trail because you keep wanting to look out at the scenery. Well, the sun's gone down over the horizon, so gotta get out of here. Down in the bottom now in the wash. So now it's following the wash back to the truck and then getting on that crazy wild road getting into here, going back out. And there's where I came from. I ate my little fish snack over the fire up on top of that peak out there, that point, looking down on all this stuff. It was quite a fun trip.